Marina smiled as she watched her son trying on his new suit. Tall, handsome, with dark hair. Tomorrow, her boy would be getting married. It was hard to believe. Ilya carefully examined his reflection in the mirror and nodded in satisfaction. The suit fit him perfectly. Stylish suit, the young man turned to his mother. Nice color and looks expensive. It is expensive, Marina thought to herself, but said aloud, I'm glad you like it. I'll definitely shed a tear when I see you all dressed up at the wedding. At the wedding? Ilya finally tore his gaze away from the mirror. Mom, are you planning to come to the wedding? We agreed that you wouldn't be there. Agreed? My dear, I thought you were joking, Marina replied. Joking? How can I joke about it? Ilya nervously paced around the room. Have you forgotten about Vicky's parents? It will be full of high society at the wedding. You'll feel like a poor relative there. I'll start worrying about you. Mom, do you want to ruin such an important day for me? Ilya sat down next to Marina on the couch, took her hand, and gently squeezed it. Mama, just imagine how out of place you'll look among those glamorous ladies. It would break my heart to see you humiliated like that. Vicky and I will come to you the next day, all right? We'll have some tea or champagne. You can congratulate us and give us a gift. Marina felt her heart sink with hurt. Her own son was ashamed of her to such an extent that he was willing to appear like an orphan at his own wedding. Why would I look out of place? His mother protested. I've made an appointment with a good hairstylist. I'll do my manicure, and I'll wear a decent dress. A decent dress? Ilya snapped. Is that blue rag considered decent? He barked and began pacing around the room again. Let me put it straight. If you can't understand it nicely, then I'll be blunt. I don't want to see you at the wedding. Call me heartless, but I'm ashamed that my mother is a cleaner. I don't want you to embarrass me in front of Vicky's family. Is that clear? Marina, shocked by her son's confession, couldn't utter a word. Ilya silently grabbed his backpack and the garment bag with his suit and headed for the door. He paused at the threshold. I'll say it once again, don't come to the ceremony. Nobody will be happy to see you there. Ilya had left a few hours ago, and darkness had fallen outside. Marina still sat on the couch, completely stunned. The shock was too much for her to shed any tears. The tears came later, when she turned on the lights and took out an old album of family photographs from the dresser. In that album, her whole unremarkable life fit. Memories overwhelmed Marina with such force that it was hard to breathe. An old, worn-out photograph. A blue-eyed 2-year-old girl gazing intently at the camera. A colorful dress clearly not her own. Next to her, a thin, peculiar woman. A distracted gaze, a silly smile. Even in the poor-quality photo, it was clear that the woman was intoxicated. Marina was 2.5 years old when her mother was deprived of parental rights and disappeared from her life forever. Growing up, Marina never even attempted to search for her wayward mother. What was the point? A group photograph. 10-year-old Marina with rebellious golden curls standing in the second row. Third from the left. Life in the orphanage was far from easy. The institution where Marina grew up was an exact replica of the troubled shelters depicted in documentaries from the chaotic 90s. Cooks stealing food, caregivers cursing, the director turning a blind eye. Marina closed the album, overwhelmed by a flood of memories. It was difficult to take a breath. Hazing. She was not at all interested in the ways the older kids maintained discipline. 3 attractive waitresses in uniforms flirtatiously posed for a photographer on the porch of the establishment with a slightly crooked sign. After finishing school, Marina didn't fuss too much about choosing a profession. She quickly found a job as a waitress at a roadside cafe with a catchy name, By the Roadside. The owner paid her a modest salary, but the main income for a waitress was the tips, and the charming, energetic Marina received generous tips from her customers. The exhausting 12-hour shifts drained her, but she didn't lose heart. Marina took a liking to independent living. She was given a spacious, bright room in a communal apartment. The neighbors, an elderly couple, turned out to be friendly. Marina had some money, albeit not much. Moreover, she unexpectedly discovered a talent for dressing nicely on a shoestring budget. She bought clothes from thrift stores and altered and remade them, turning worn-out garments into fashionable items. A summer clearing in the woods. Happy, laughing Marina, wearing a large wreath of flowers and leaves, sits on the green grass. A handsome dark-haired guy, also wearing a wreath, embraces her from behind. So many years have passed, and Marina's heart still skips a beat when she sees that photo. She had been working at the By the Roadside Cafe for about a year when she met Maxim. On that summer morning, the cafe was surprisingly crowded. Marina rushed around the hall with a tray, serving impatient customers. Suddenly, she stumbled on a flat surface and spilled a glass of tomato juice on a guy sitting at a table by the window. A bright red stain slowly spread across his light-colored shirt. Marina was speechless with horror. Before she could recover, the cafe owner instantly appeared near the table. Stas started fussing around the guy and shouting at the poor waitress, threatening to fire her. Why get so worked up? The guy smirked and handed Marina the keys to his car. Don't worry, I'm going to my parents' dacha, and I have a clean shirt in the car. Could you bring my backpack from the back seat? I'll bring it myself, Maxim Nikolaevich. Obsequious Stas snatched the keys from Marina. Otherwise, this chicken might break something in your car. Left alone with the client, the frightened girl finally managed to apologize. I'm sorry, please forgive me. It's the first time something like this has happened to me, I swear, and I'll compensate for the damage. Oh, calm down. What damage? It's nothing, girl. By the way, what's your name? Marina, and I'm Maxim. He extended his hand to her, timidly shaking the stranger's hand in return. Marina dared to look at his face for the first time. A handsome guy, tall, athletic, gray, slightly mischievous eyes, a gentle, charming smile. The owner brought the client his backpack and suggested a place where he could freshen up. Passing by Marina, Stas sarcastically asked, "What are you waiting for? Is your shift over?" She collected the money from the love-struck couple when she heard a cheerful voice behind her. "Marina, could you spare a minute for me?" She turned around. Maxim, wearing a fresh blue t-shirt, was sitting at the same table. "Will you take my order?" "Of course." While serving an attractive customer, the girl felt awkward. Her cheeks were burning with embarrassment. Stas personally escorted the guy to the door and winked at Marina. "Don't take it personally. I intentionally shouted at you. Otherwise, he might have made you pay for his shirt. It's more expensive than your salary." "How do you know that guy?" Marina asked. "That's Max Sportsov, the mayor's son. Everyone in town knows him." By the evening, Marina was exhausted from the long hours of work, and she forgot about the morning incident. All she wanted was to get home quickly and collapse into bed. It was already dark outside, and she didn't know how long she would have to wait for the bus. Suddenly, a light-colored foreign car pulled up to the cafe. Marina instinctively stepped back towards the porch, but upon closer inspection, she recognized the car. What could the mayor's son be doing here? Maxim jumped out of the car, grabbed a large bouquet from the seat, and headed straight for Marina. Approaching her closely, he handed her the flowers. "Are you done with work already?" "Sorry, I didn't know what kind of flowers you like, so I settled for the cliché white roses. I promise to give you your favorite flowers next time." Next time? Marina was completely taken aback. "Why? Why not?" Max laughed. "I'm courting you, remember? By the way, it's such a lovely evening. Maybe we can go somewhere?" Marina had already forgotten about how tired she was, and everything seemed like a magical dream. She suddenly realized that she was ready to go anywhere with this guy, but luckily, she remembered her shabby appearance just in time. Old jeans, a simple shirt, and who knows what was on her head. "Thank you, but I'm terribly tired. I can't today," Marina said with regret. "Then tomorrow?" Max didn't give up. "Tomorrow," echoed the girl. The next day, they met and decided not to part ways. It was love at first sight. Max, an economics student, successfully passed his summer exams, and the couple began to see each other every day. In July, Max took Marina on vacation. Since she didn't have a passport, they spent 10 magical days in Sochi. Max introduced his beloved to his university friends, and they often went swimming and had barbecues together as a fun group. It was the brightest, carefree, and unforgettable summer in Marina's life. She had never experienced such unrestrained happiness before. The couple even started talking about getting married. However, in the autumn, all their colorful plans for the future came crashing down in an instant. One day, Max's cousin saw him on the street in the company of a modestly dressed girl. Stranger. From that moment on, Marina's life turned into hell. The Skvortsov couple were vehemently against their only son being involved with some pauper from a shelter. Max's mother, aunt, and grandmother would call Marina daily. They showered her with insults and threats, demanding that she leave their boy alone. Max's cousin stormed into the cafe and caused a dreadful scene, splashing a tall glass of milkshake in the waitress's face. The old ladies from the bench near their building informed Marina that some people had been asking about her for an hour. "Yes, there was a lady here recently," confirmed Yakov Ivanovich, her neighbor from the apartment. "She offered my wife and me a substantial amount of money to confirm that you are a drug addict, prostitute, and alcoholic. I threw that hyena out." Marina didn't tell her fiancé anything, knowing that the decision regarding his student exchange trip abroad was being made at the moment. It seemed like he was also under pressure because a sense of worry had settled in his eyes. Sometimes he stared intently at his beloved's face, but upon seeing her tender smile, he breathed a sigh of relief. 2 weeks before Max's departure, Marina received a phone call in her apartment. "This is Nikolay Borisovich," she heard a stern male voice say on the other end of the line. "I'm Max's father. You must break up with my son before he leaves. Tell them you have another man. If you ignore my words, you will regret it bitterly." Without waiting for a response, the mayor hung up. Marina was ready to give her life for Max. How could she refuse the one she loved so desperately? When her beloved flew to London, events began unfolding around Marina at a cosmic pace, events she still remembers as a bad dream. Stas, bribed by the city's mayor, suddenly accused the waitress of a major embezzlement, and she was arrested. Marina was so shaken by her boss's treacherous act that she didn't even think about ensuring her reliable defense when the case was quickly handed over to court. She had no doubt that the truth would soon come to light, and these horrible accusations would be dismissed. The trial resembled a farce. The state-appointed lawyer assigned to Marina had clearly not slept during the trial, while the prosecutor did his utmost. Every day, Marina waited for Max to appear and save her, but her friend informed her that he was rumored to be continuing his studies in England. Marina was sentenced to 3 years. It was in prison that she learned she was expecting a child. She forbade herself from recalling the time spent in the women's zone. It was too painful. Consumed by despair, she hurriedly turned the page of the family album. Dark-haired, gray-eyed little one, Marina gently caressed the photograph. What a tender and clever little rascal her son was. Only God knew the struggle she endured to raise the boy on her own. Marina served a year and a half before being released on parole. She was incredibly lucky that they didn't take her child away. On the outside, a heap of problems fell upon her. No one wanted to hire a young girl with a small child, especially one with a criminal record. Thanks to her neighbor Yakov Ivanovich, who helped place little Ilyushka in a nursery through his adult student, Marina could now work tirelessly. She worked as a cleaner in a restaurant, tidied up local offices in the evenings, took extra shifts at a car wash on weekends, and sewed pillowcases and duvet covers at night. Marina didn't dwell on the past. What good would it do her? During her sentence, all the old connections had been severed. One day, she accidentally ran into a former friend who informed her that Stas, the owner of the roadside cafe, had gone bankrupt. Mayor Sportsov had moved with his family to Moscow after a promotion, and his son had married a beauty from the capital a year ago. Marina cried all night and then wiped away her tears and went to mop the floors at the restaurant. She had to provide for her son. From now on, it was her sole responsibility and joy. The dawn was breaking outside. Had Marina spent the whole night poring over the album? She went to bed, but thoughts of her son kept her from falling asleep. She always tried so hard to please him with expensive toys, delicious food, and trendy clothes. She was ready to bend over backward just to fulfill his every wish, within her means, of course. If Ilya needed a new gadget, he would calmly announce it to his mother, knowing she would somehow come up with the necessary sum. At worst, she would take up another cleaning job at some institution. Of course, Marina shares some blame for Ilya turning out to be such an insensitive egoist. She never complained to him about her fatigue, never took a sick day, and always gave him the most delectable bites during meals. It's no wonder that the young man never stopped to think about the price his mother paid to provide for him. And now, her own son is ashamed of Marina and doesn't want the pitiful cleaner to be present at his wedding ceremony. I've made it, Marina sighed bitterly, then turned to the portrait of Ilya hanging on the wall. My son, I've indulged your every wish for 25 years, but this time I'll do what I want. I hope you forgive me. She got up from the bed and retrieved a small box from the nightstand, where she kept her savings in the old-fashioned way. Together with her monthly salary on the card, it would be enough for a new outfit, hairstyle, and a visit to the beautician. Marina's appearance at the registry office caused a sensation. She always looked youthful, and after her visit to the beauty salon, she seemed to have shed a decade. Male guests stole glances at the slender, fair-haired woman in her luxurious blue dress. During the ceremony, the mother, wiping away tears, admired her serious yet slightly bewildered son and his charming bride. How good it was that she came here. Later, all the guests congratulated the newlyweds. Ilya discreetly made his way through the crowd to his mother and whispered, "So my request means nothing to you? I hope you won't rush to the restaurant." "I won't," Marina nodded. "I've seen everything I wanted to." "Hello," Vika exclaimed, overjoyed, as she approached them. "Marina Anatolyevna, you look amazing. My parents invite you to join them at the restaurant." Thank you, but I'm already on my way, Marina replied. What do you mean, already? Vika protested. Ilya, what's going on? Indeed, Mom, where are you rushing to? Ilya asked with a forced smile. Your only son is getting married after all. He invited his mother to the restaurant. When it was time for the parents to congratulate the newlyweds, Marina took the microphone. Children, be happy. Be happy and love each other for a lifetime. Marina's short speech was filled with genuine emotion, prompting the guests to give her a standing ovation. As she descended from the small stage, she almost collided with a tall man in an expensive suit. His face seemed familiar. It couldn't be. It can't be, Maxim said aloud, blocking her path. Marishka, is that really you? What are you doing here, Maxim? Marina couldn't believe her eyes. The bride's father is my business partner. He invited me to the wedding. How handsome your son is, Maxim, nervous but excited, took Marina's hand. Shall we step aside and talk by the window? Are you alone, without a wife? Marina asked. I've been divorced for 10 years. No children. They spoke for an hour. Maxim explained how his father had informed him, upon returning from abroad, that Marina had met someone else and left with him for Moscow. Shocked, Maxim didn't believe his father. Afraid to insult his beloved with offensive suspicions, he decided to find out the truth from his best friend. The friend went to the roadside cafe, but didn't find the girl there. The owner and the waitresses confirmed the information given by his father in unison. I nearly went crazy with grief back then. I stayed in England for another 6 months. Then I returned to Moscow. My father got promoted. I remarried. Have I been happy all these years? Not for a minute. Only in my youth, with you. Well, how have you been all this time? Let's not dwell on the past, Marina suggested. After all, it's a wedding. I'll tell you everything later. Now, invite me to dance. The guests couldn't take their eyes off the mature, beautiful couple whirling in the waltz. Ilya looked at his mother, unable to recognize her. Suddenly, he thought that his mother, a very attractive woman, had given up her personal life for the sake of her son. For him, for the first time in his life, Ilya felt truly ashamed for himself. Then he noticed that his mother was heading towards the exit, arm in arm with some wealthy guy. Ilya caught up with her on the porch. Mom, where are you going? I'm leaving. After all, that's what you wanted, she reminded him. Mom, I'm sorry, but where are you going with this man? I'm ready to go anywhere with this man, even to the ends of the earth, Marina confessed sincerely. By the way, let me introduce you. This is your father. Maxim and Ilya looked at Marina in astonishment. After a brief silence, she shook her head decisively and smiled. I think the three of us have a very long and challenging conversation ahead.